Have you worked with any of these Implo people? And if so, okay. So what's your feeling on it? Are they really fulfilling the mission, or are they just
absolutely?
Right?
I mean, just like any organization, they have their good guys and their bad guys. Luckily, I was lucky enough to get an extremely motivated individual. He comes in Monday through Thursday. He teaches classes. He's got a high motivation level. The IPs absolutely love him, and he just burns through classes. He's made the training process of the Iraqis that much easier on the Marines.
I'm glad to hear that. Glad to hear things are getting better. I guess I gotta go back a little bit. I want to know, what's the relationship with the Iraqi people, the actual citizen on the street? I assume that's key to the augmentation teams. Is that by improving?
It's like the same with the relationship with the police. It's beyond anything I could have comprehended 7 months ago. From my experience in Ramadi previously, when you would patrol down the street, people would be inside their houses. They would run away from the patrol. There was no interaction whatsoever. Now, when we arrived on deck this year, it was still somewhat of an event to see a Marine patrol. Kids were running up to the patrol. People were still somewhat kind of shocked to see us interacting with the populace. Now, almost 7 months later, we've been able to make it that a Marine patrol moving through the city is just normal everyday life. They're supportive of us. However, it's like the children aren't swarming us anymore. They're used to our presence. We've just linked ourselves so closely with the community that they no longer see us as a surprise or an outsider. It's just part of their everyday routine now. And they like it, one, because they know that we're out there identifying problems that need to be fixed, and also at the same time providing security still.
Okay. So that's a quantum leap from where it was the last time you were here, which was about a year ago?
Correct.
Okay. The whole augmentation team, it sounds an awful lot like something from Vietnam, but however, how did that idea first foster itself with Lima Company? Was there a person in particular who got it started? Was it the company itself? Could you kind of I know that's outside our time frame here, but I think that's actually pivotal to the understanding.
Absolutely, and like you mentioned, Vietnam, the idea of combined action platoons had a big influence on us. One of the key individuals in all of this was Lieutenant Mahika, my platoon commander. He and I see eye to eye on a lot of things, and in him working with our senior Marines, Sergeant Worth, Corporal Saunders, Corporal Wiseman, and Corporal James, he had us reading lots of manuals and books on counterinsurgency, guerrilla warfare, taking lessons learned from some of the British experience, the American experience, Small Wars Manual, everything. One of the pivotal moments was actually following an assignment. We had a night to write a report on manuals that we were assigned. The following day we had a meeting, and
this was back at 29 Palms?
Correct.
Okay.
About January time frame. He took us all out to lunch at the O Club, and we were just sitting around just talking about guerrilla warfare, counterinsurgency, like what lessons learned can we take from history. And one of the ideas that came up was combined action platoons, and we started talking about how that could be implemented in Iraq.
Out of this group, who are we talking about? Was this the squad leaders, team leaders, or the whole platoon?
This was just the squad leaders.
There's just three in the platoon, sergeant?
It was squad leaders and two of our senior corporals, Corporal Saunders and Corporal James at the time.
Yeah, could you give us the names, please, of everyone who's there?
Sure. It was Sergeant Worth, Corporal Wiseman, Corporal Saunders, Corporal James, and myself, and Lieutenant Mahika.
Okay. And you were saying that the Combined Action Platoon, or CAP Platoon from Vietnam, was kind of the inspiration. Was everyone at that time aware of what a CAP Platoon was? Or was that something that
not fully aware. I think everyone had a general idea, but I don't think they understood the extent of what those men in Vietnam did. And that's basically what Lieutenant Mahika and I described to them, was like, these platoons were going out, living inside of a village, cooperating with the locals, providing security, providing infrastructural support. And they liked the idea. Obviously, they were somewhat hesitant. I mean, they had the same experience as I did the previous year in Ramadi.
Which was there was a lot of actual combat. It was
yes, but they also realized from their experiences and from reading what they had read that the people are the key to a counterinsurgency. That is your target, is the people. Okay.
There was other books you read other than just Marine and military publications. There was actually, I understand there was a number of books that you just picked up at the library on Arab culture. And
oh yeah, absolutely. We were going off of that discussion. We immediately knew that what we wanted to do was focus on that, and we were going to do everything we could to put ourselves in a situation where we were able to implement the ideas that we were coming up with, and they were nothing new. They were implementing ideas from history and how we could kind of critique them to fit the scenario of Ramadi, which we all knew about because we had been to that city before. Like Lawrence of Arabia, Seven Pillars of Wisdom, books like that. The guys started picking up and reading and just.
These seem like some pretty. I mean, the Seven Pillars of Wisdom. I know this guy who was in the movie Lawrence of Arabia. But that's a pretty heavy book. I mean, it's not just a big book, but it's actually a very, I don't know, difficult book to read.
Absolutely.
This was reading assignments for corporals and sergeants. I mean,
absolutely.
And there was writing assignments that went along with this. It wasn't just read this book and get back with me.
Correct. We did written reports and we would present them to the group, basically just like a basic roundtable discussion. Lieutenant Mahika is one of those demanding kind of leaders. He didn't think, oh, well, I'm giving this book to them and it's above their level. Like, he expected you to understand it. He'd find a way, and if you didn't understand it, ask someone. I think that's one of the things that has made him such a key figure in Lima Company, this deployment. It's just the way he led was that he never ever underestimated the ability of his NCOs and junior Marines. And I think he probably caught some flack for that, thinking that some of the ideas, some of the presentations he did were above our level.
Oh, you're saying some of the other officers in the company might have assumed that he was putting too much pressure on enlisted personnel?
I think so. And I think they thought that maybe some of the stuff would go over our head. And that's the one thing that he refused to accept, was that he would find a way to explain it to us. Even like the most uneducated Lance Corporal that we have, whether he had to sit down with him for an hour and talk to him about why these ideas are important, he would get through to him.
Okay. I assume that some of the stuff was, once again, the Numbers Marines were actually in what I'm calling OF3 or Ramadi 1, which was a highly kinetic, or there was a lot of combat going on. I find it difficult to believe that there was Marines who were, or all Marines were able to go from fighting the Iraqis, the insurgents, to living with them. Was that a problem you had to overcome?
It was definitely a problem we overcame. I mean, a lot of.
But not every Marine got over it, or did they? Or?
I think a lot of Marines did for the most part. And here's the key thing to remember, is that a platoon commander leads a platoon. Once you have the squad leaders on board and the squad leaders understand stuff, squad leaders make things happen. A platoon commander may lead a platoon, but squad leaders run that platoon. So that was the important link that he made, was he understood if he can get to the squad leaders, he can get to the senior NCOs, you can get to those guys because you have shared experience. So it was a good success, especially in first platoon. Like, I think everybody got